Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it. It was a stormy night, the kind that makes you feel the weight of the world pressing down on you. The rain pounded against the hospital windows, creating a symphony of nature's fury. I was on my third night shift in a row, my eyes heavy with exhaustion, but my mind sharp as ever. Being a young doctor in the bustling city of New York meant that every moment was unpredictable, every second a chance to make a difference. The emergency room was quieter than usual, a deceptive calm before the inevitable storm. My colleagues and I exchanged tired smiles, knowing that our brief respite would soon be shattered by the next wave of patients. It was in this fragile silence that I first saw him. A man stumbled through the entrance, drenched and bleeding. His clothes were tattered, his face a canvas of pain and desperation. The triage nurse, busy with paperwork, didn't notice him at first. But I did. I sprang into action, my instincts overriding the rules drilled into me during my training. "Sir, are you all right?" I asked, rushing to the side. His eyes met mine, and in that brief moment, I saw a lifetime of suffering. "Help, please," he whispered before collapsing into my arms. I called for a gurney, my voice cutting through the ambient noise of the ER. As we wheeled him into an examination room, I couldn't help but notice the stench of the streets clinging to him. His body was a roadmap of scars and untreated wounds, a testament to a life lived on the fringes of society. "Dr. Hancock, you know the protocol," Nurse Ellen said, her tone a mix of concern and reprimand. "We can't treat unsanitary patients without proper precautions." I nodded, fully aware of the rules, but there was no time for bureaucracy. This man needed immediate care. I grabbed gloves, a mask, and began assessing his injuries. His leg was mangled, likely the result of a brutal assault or an accident. He was losing blood fast, and his vital signs were plummeting. "Give me a saline IV and prepare for surgery," I ordered, my voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around me. As I worked to stabilize him, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just another patient. There was something about him, something that pulled at my heartstrings. Perhaps it was the way he clung to life, despite the odds stacked against him. Or maybe it was the realization that he could be anyone, a father, a brother, a friend, reduced to a nameless face in the crowd. Hours passed in a blur of adrenaline and surgical precision. By the time we wheeled him out of the OR, he was stable but still critical. I stayed by his side, monitoring his progress, refusing to let exhaustion claim me. I knew I had crossed a line, defied the rules, but I couldn't bring myself to regret it. This man's life mattered, and I was determined to see him through. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, I finally allowed myself a moment of respite. Little did I know, my act of compassion would soon set off a chain of events that would change my life forever. The following morning, the hospital was abuzz with the usual hustle and bustle. Doctors and nurses moved with purpose, patients and visitors filled the hallways, and the smell of antiseptic hung in the air. I grabbed a cup of coffee, hoping the caffeine would chase away the lingering fatigue from the night before. "Dr. Hancock, the chief wants to see you," said Nurse Ellen, her expression unreadable. I nodded, knowing this conversation was inevitable. As I made my way to Dr. Lucas Murray's office, my mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. Dr. Murray was a formidable presence, a man who commanded respect and ruled the hospital with an iron fist. I knocked on his door, the sound echoing in the quiet corridor. "Come in," his voice boomed from the other side. I stepped inside, my heart pounding. Dr. Murray sat behind his massive oak desk, his piercing blue eyes scrutinizing me. His office was a testament to his status. Walls lined with accolades, a bookshelf filled with medical journals, and a window offering a panoramic view of the city. "Dr. Hancock," he began, steepling his fingers, "I understand you took in an unsanitary patient last night." "Yes, sir," I replied, standing tall despite the nerves gnawing at me. "Did you follow the protocol?" "No, sir," I admitted, "but the patient was in critical condition. He would have died if we waited." Dr. Murray sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I appreciate your dedication, but rules exist for a reason. This hospital has standards to maintain, and we cannot afford to compromise them." "I understand, but—" "No buts," Dr. Hancock, he interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. Your actions have consequences. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending further investigation. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Suspension? My career, my passion, everything I had worked so hard for was hanging by a thread. I did what I thought was right, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Dr. Murray's gaze softened, but his resolve remained firm. Sometimes doing the right thing comes at a cost. You're a good doctor, Yusuf. Don't let this define you. I nodded, feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. As I left his office, the weight of the world seemed to press down on me even harder. The hospital, which had been my sanctuary, now felt like a prison. Walking through the halls, I saw the faces of my colleagues, their expressions a mixture of sympathy and judgment. News traveled fast in the hospital, and I was now the subject of whispers and rumors. Back in the ER, Nurse Ellen approached me, her eyes filled with concern. I'm sorry, Yusuf. I know you did what you had to. Thanks, Ellen, I replied, forcing a smile. I'll be all right. As I gathered my belongings, I couldn't help but think of the man I had saved. Was he worth the risk? Would he even survive the ordeal? I had so many questions, but no answers. Leaving the hospital felt surreal, like stepping into a different world. The city was alive with activity, oblivious to the turmoil inside me. I walked aimlessly, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would test my resolve and ultimately redefine my purpose as a doctor. Days turned into weeks, and my suspension became a harsh reality I had to accept. I spent my days at home, trying to keep myself busy, but the emptiness was overwhelming. I missed the chaos of the ER, the rush of saving lives, the camaraderie with my colleagues, but most of all, I missed feeling like I was making a difference. One evening, as I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello? Is this Dr. Yusuf Hancock? A woman's voice asked. Yes, speaking. This is Inspector Gabrielle Carter with the New York Police Department. I believe you treated a homeless man recently, a John Doe. My heart skipped a beat. Yes, I did. How is he? He's stable. Thanks to you. I need to speak with you in person. It's urgent. We arranged to meet at a nearby cafe. As I walked to the location, 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Who was this man? Why was an inspector involved? The cafe was bustling with evening patrons. I spotted a woman in her late 30s, with sharp features and an air of authority, sitting at a corner table. She stood up as I approached. Dr. Hancock, thank you for meeting me, she said, extending her hand. Inspector Carter, please call me Yusuf, I replied, shaking her hand. We sat down, and she wasted no time getting to the point. The man you saved is my father, Richard Carter. I stared at her in disbelief. Your father? Yes, he's been missing for months. We had no idea where he was or what happened to him until you brought him in. Her words hit me like a tidal wave. The man I had saved, the homeless man, was her father. It was a connection I hadn't anticipated. I'm glad he's stable, I said, my voice filled with relief. Yusuf, I owe you more than I can express, Gabrielle continued. But there's more to this. I've been investigating the hospital where you work. There have been reports of mismanagement and corruption. Your suspension, it's not just about protocol. There's something much deeper at play. Her words sent a chill down my spine. What do you mean? Dr. Lucas Murray has been involved in unethical practices for years. Misallocation of funds, improper patient care, and even cover-ups. Your act of compassion brought this to light. I was stunned. Dr. Murray, the man I had looked up to, was corrupt. It was hard to reconcile the image of the stern but seemingly fair chief with the accusations Gabrielle was making. What can I do? I asked, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I need your help to expose him. Your testimony, your experiences, they can make a difference. We need to bring justice to those who have suffered because of his actions. I nodded, feeling a fire ignite within me. I'm in. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity and tension. Gabrielle and I worked tirelessly, piecing together evidence and testimonies. She introduced me to her team, a group of dedicated individuals who shared a common goal: to uncover the truth and bring justice to those wronged by Dr. Murray's actions. My suspension had left me with ample time, which I now channeled into the investigation. Gabrielle's determination was infectious, and I found myself driven by a newfound sense of purpose. We reviewed patient records, interviewed staff members, and unearthed documents that painted a damning picture of mismanagement and corruption. One evening, as Gabrielle and I sat in her cramped office, surrounded by files and papers, she looked at me with a mixture of gratitude and resolve. "Yusuf, your courage in saving my father, it's what started all this. You risked everything for a man you didn't even know. I can't thank you enough." I shook my head, feeling a swell of emotion. I just did what any doctor would do. But I'm glad it led to this. We're making a difference. As we delved deeper into the investigation, we uncovered a trail of corruption that extended far beyond Dr. Murray. There were forged documents, embezzled funds, and numerous instances of patient neglect. It was a web of deceit that had been meticulously constructed over the years. One particularly damning piece of evidence came in the form of an email exchange between Dr. Murray and a pharmaceutical company. The emails detailed a scheme to push expensive, unnecessary treatments on patients in exchange for kickbacks. It was a betrayal of the very principles of medicine. "This is it," Gabrielle said, her eyes flashing with determination. "This is the evidence we need to take him down." With the evidence in hand, we prepared for the next step. Confronting Dr. Murray and ensuring that justice was served. It was a daunting task, but we were ready. The hospital had been a place of healing, and it was time to cleanse it of the corruption that had tainted it for far too long. The day of reckoning arrived with a palpable sense of anticipation. Gabrielle and her team, along with legal advisors and hospital board members, convened in a conference room at the hospital. I stood by Gabrielle's side, my heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and resolve. Dr. Murray entered the room, his usual air of authority replaced by a hint of unease. He glanced around, taking in the stern faces of those assembled. Gabrielle wasted no time, laying out the evidence we had gathered with meticulous precision. "Dr. Murray," she began, her voice steady and commanding, "you stand accused of gross mismanagement, corruption, and unethical practices. The evidence before us is irrefutable." As Gabrielle presented the damning documents, emails, and testimonies, I watched Dr. Murray's expression shift from denial to anger and finally to resignation. He had been cornered, his web of deceit unraveling before him. "This is outrageous," he spat, attempting to maintain his composure. "You have no right to make these accusations." Gabrielle remained unflinching. "We have every right. You have betrayed the trust of your patients, your staff, and the very institution you were meant to uphold. Your actions have caused untold suffering, and it's time you face the consequences." The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation settled in. Dr. Murray's attempts to deflect and deny were futile. The evidence was overwhelming, and there was no escaping the truth. The hospital board members conferred briefly before delivering their verdict. Dr. Murray was to be immediately removed from his position and handed over to the authorities for prosecution. It was a moment of vindication, a triumph of justice over corruption. As Dr. Murray was escorted out, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The battle was far from over, but we had taken a crucial step toward restoring integrity to the hospital. Gabrielle turned to me, a rare smile breaking through her usually stern demeanor. "We did it, Yusuf. We exposed the truth." I nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "And now, we rebuild." In the days that followed, the hospital underwent significant changes. New policies were implemented to ensure transparency and accountability. Staff members were encouraged to speak up against unethical practices, and patient care was prioritized above all else. The hospital board, recognizing my role in uncovering the truth, offered to reinstate me. But it wasn't just about getting my job back. It was about making a lasting impact, about ensuring that the values of compassion and integrity were upheld. At a special ceremony held in the hospital's atrium, I stood before my colleagues and peers, humbled by the recognition. The hospital had decided to establish a new ward dedicated to compassionate treatment, named in my honor, the Yusuf Ward. As I looked out at the faces of those gathered, I felt a profound sense of purpose. This wasn't just about me, it was about every patient who deserved dignified care, every staff member who believed in doing what was right. Gabrielle joined me on the stage, her father, Richard, by her side. He had made a remarkable recovery, and seeing him standing there was a reminder of why we fought so hard. We dedicate this ward to the principles of compassion, integrity, and patient dignity, Gabrielle announced. May it serve as a beacon of hope and a reminder that every life matters. As the applause echoed through the atrium, I felt a tear slip down my cheek. This journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also reaffirmed my belief in the power of compassion and the importance of standing up for what is right. In that moment, I knew that my path as a doctor had only just begun. The Yusuf Ward was not just a symbol of my efforts, it was a promise to every patient who walked through its doors that they would be treated with the care and respect they deserved.